Well, recently I have been teaching school. I teach robotics courses at Youthville, Detroit, and Vista Maria. It's a home for girls. And I also serve as a coach of the Youthville robotics team, and in the last couple of seasons we have been highly competitive, and we have won a couple of national championships, a couple of state championships, and been highly competitive in the World Championship VEX Robotics program. I really love working with children, and I didn't realize I would. I kind of came through it through the back door. I was working as a security officer at a school, a middle school, and a couple of the children, my station was outside the science room, and a couple of the children, 7th and 8th graders, had a project putting together these prefabricated robots. And the instructions for these robots were translated from, I think, Chinese into English, and the translations were difficult to understand. And some of the children came to me and asked me if I could help them with their project. And because I'm sitting out there, basically doing nothing at the guard station, I said, well, yeah, let me help you out. And I started helping one kid, and that kid, after he got his completed, he took it into the room, and a little while later, a couple more kids came out and asked if I could help them. And then they went back in, and then a little while later, the teacher of that classroom came out and said, "Are you helping them kids?" Yeah. So the word got back to the robotics coach of that school that I had an inclination toward building robots, and he approached me and literally drafted me into service as the assistant robotics coach. He just came out and said, "Man, I heard you could build robots." I was like, "Yeah." Okay, man, you the assistant coach now. Be at practice after school. I'm like, okay. So I started practicing and helping the kids build their robots that year. And that year we won the national championship in the VEX, in the middle school division of VEX robotics competition. So, and then after that, he developed a company providing robotics courses to the school system, and we were hired by the Highland Park school system to provide robotics courses to their school. And then through that, we made contacts and did some other schools, and then where we're at now is Youthville, Detroit, so Youth Empowerment Center. Now that I've been working within that system, I see areas, and I've become very adamant about, we need to make some very significant changes to how we approach the job of educating our children. A lot of the creativity that we enjoyed from as a society, as a country in the past, had come from, the ingenuity of people who have to do without. The bottom line is that if necessity is the mother of invention, then the people who are in need the most are probably going to be the most inventive people around. And for you to exclude them from an opportunity from joining places of higher learning, you will lose out on that ingenuity and the ability to create groundbreaking things. And it's like, how can we as a society maintain our edge over the rest of the world if we exclude some of the most valuable attributes of our own society? And it has been that ingenuity that has brought us to the place that we find ourselves now in terms of being the richest, most powerful society on the earth, And then all of a sudden now we want to just, basically throw away our edge, throw away our valuable resources. For me, it makes me angry when I started teaching at Highland Park Community High School. I realized that a lot of the lack of the ability for that institution to educate the children rose not just from the lack of money in the institution itself, but the lack of money in the community. Excuse me. A lot of the children who were coming to our class, they did not have their basic needs met that allowed them to be able to function well enough in school to be able to receive the education that was being provided to them. Mm-hmm. For example, a lot of the children were hungry. They didn't have clothing, and as a result of not having the proper attire, they were ostracized by some of the other children, which then had a negative effect on their ability to be educated. I mean, so these are just small examples of how education needs to be, or how the improvement of our educational system needs to be approached in a comprehensive way. It needs to be approached, from a grassroots level. It needs to be approached from the perspective that will allow us to address some of the more basic needs that prepare our kids to step into a classroom and allow them to be able to receive the education that is, attempting to be provided to them. We need to take some personal responsibility as well as parents to make ourselves involved in our children's education. I was born in Detroit, but I was raised in Belleville, and in Belleville, the school I went to, one of the differences between what I went to and what I see now is the amount of time the teacher has to take to correct errant behavior or destructive or disruptive behavior. Now, when I was in school, the teachers say, "Okay, here we go, we ready?" And everybody's ready. Everybody looking up. Everybody's paying attention. And a lot of that stems from the parenting that, because we weren't allowed to act up in school. My parents made sure that, they taught us how to behave. I have some younger nephews and nieces that have children, and it's my responsibility to try to encourage them to be the type of parents that they need to be so that their children, so that my younger nieces and nephews get the type of education that's going to allow them to be productive members of the society. As I was going through school, I had behavioral issues because I had experienced some trauma as a child, and I was behaving, I was acting out negatively in order to compensate for anger that arose out of those traumas. And I'm sure that having gone through that experience has made me a better teacher, make me more empathetic with the children and what they're going through, make me more open-minded to any type of behavioral issues that I have to deal with, And it's funny because my kids, they, to my surprise, they love me, and kids that have gone on to graduate are now contacting me, and I feel humbled and just a warm feeling inside. Just feel good. Makes me feel good that I'm making a difference. I think the way we're funded now, where each school, is funded primarily on its tax base in the area, I think that is unfair to the poor, and it fosters like a cycle of under education, because not that money is the end all to and be all to our education system. I just think that the funding sources of schools should be just even across the board. They should have like a state fund, school fund that everybody pays into, and then every school gets an equal share per capita for how many students. Each student should get a certain amount of funding regardless of where they're from. And I think we have a responsibility to our whole society to make sure that everybody has a fair shot.
We got the funk, we got the smarts, we got the spunk, we got the heart. Talking about Detroit.